Howdy y'all. In this video, we'll cover the basics of your IP intercom system. You'll see how each site runs on an on-premise server with every speaker tied to its own extension. We'll walk through checking speaker status, adjusting volume, and a few quick troubleshooting tips. So let's go ahead and get started. The way we set up IP intercoms is we put an on-prem server for each site, and then all the IP speakers register to that server. And so you should have the IP address as well as the credentials for each server that goes to each site. Once you plug in the IP address into your browser, and it should take you to a login page that looks like this. We'll go ahead and log in by clicking the Free PBX administration button and putting in the credentials. Hit continue. Your login should take you to a dashboard that looks something like this. There's only a couple things we're interested in here, and we'll start with extensions. To get to extensions, we'll hover over Applications and go to Extensions. If you have a newer Free PBX version, Extensions is under Connectivity. But for this server, it's under Applications, Extensions. I'll click this little arrow here so we can display 100 extensions. And the way this works is that we have an extension for each IP speaker. We can see that the speaker has its own extension number and then a name to identify that speaker. Most of these extensions are going to be IP speakers, but something to note is that we often have something called an algo in the extension list. We'll talk more about an algo paging adapter later in this video. So what I can do with this page is I can actually change the name of the extension. Now I can't change the actual extension number, but I can change the name of that extension number if I needed to. So if we wanted to change, if the purpose of a room changed and we wanted to change the label of that, I can click this edit button, this pencil right here, and I could change the name right here. And then I would hit submit, and then I would click apply config. Let's go back to extensions. Now we want to talk about identifying the status of each IP speaker. And to do that, we want to look at asterisk info, which is under reports. I'm going to open that up in a new tab. And there's a lot going on this page, but this has the information that we want to look at right here in this gray area. So say we want to see the status of room 201. I'm going to copy that extension number, which is 10201. I'm going to click Control F, which will let me search this page, and I'm going to search that extension number. And that's going to tell me whether or not that speaker is registered or not. And so I can see the status of every single extension on this page. And when I see available here, that tells me that that speaker is registered. When I see unavailable, so for example, 10202 and 10203, I know for a fact that those speakers are not working because they are not registered. They are unavailable. Now, this page is incredibly valuable because it shows us the status of each extension, but it also shows us the IP address of every extension, which is going to let us log into those speakers. And so there's a lot of information here, but I'm looking for that IP address, which is tucked right after the @ sign of the extension number. So I have contact, I'm going to have the extension number, and then way over here after the @ sign is going to be an IP address. That's followed by a port number, which doesn't matter. We're not interested in that. All we're interested in are these 4 octets. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste that into my browser. And that's going to take me to the login page of these Wasiga speakers. The credentials should be admin, admin. Now I've logged into the GUI of this speaker. The way we roll out Wasiga speakers is we often daisy chain them with another. So we can have one home run and use only one port on a switch. And I can tell we're doing that with this one specifically because when I look at the room mode, I can see that it's using 2 rooms, 1 speaker each. And I can actually see that right here on the right. I can see room 1 is registered to this extension, and I can see room 2 is registered to this extension. Now, of course, it's going to be the same IP address because the first speaker in that chain is what's hosting all the information for both speakers. So you configure both speakers on this same IP address, this same web page. And I can do that by clicking Accounts, and I can look at both room 1 and room 2. We're not going to get into the details of that other than the fact that I can manage both speakers on this IP address. Now, the main thing people are going to want to do is change the volume. Sometimes it's too loud, sometimes it's too quiet. And to do that, we go to audio, and I can see I can adjust the volume on room 1 and room 2 here. And again, if I'm not sure which room is which, I just go over here to the right and I can see which extension number. So 10106, that's ROTC. But room 2 is 10111, which is storage. And say we want to increase the volume of room 1. We would do that by clicking this drop down and selecting which volume we want. So we're going to be default around 0 dB plus 2 dB. But if I want to change that, I would go up a couple more dB. I wouldn't recommend making any adjustments more than 5 different decibels at a time. The best thing to do is to make the change. And so, for example, I'll make a change right here. I changed it from plus 2 dB to 0 dB, and I'll click Save Changes. Now I have made those changes. Now I can call that room and listen to it and see if that was what we wanted. Was that good enough, or should we make more changes? So again, I recommend making a small change and then testing that to see if that's exactly how we want it. We also have the option to increase the volume of the microphone. So when somebody is calling into that room and that person is talking back, the microphone volume is going to be how loud their voice is on the other side. And so if they're not really hearing it really well, we can turn that up, or if it's way too loud, we can turn that down. But the most common thing we adjust is speaker volume for the individual rooms. And that is going to apply for both the all call and an individual room call. Something we want to note is that there's a difference between an individual room call and making an all call. When you call an individual room, say you just dial 10106, you can have a two-way call with that room. That is called a SIP call. That allows you to have a two-way conversation. The way we do an all call is different, and we use something called an algo paging adapter to achieve this. And that is usually going to be found in your extension list. And so for this example, it's this extension number. It could be a different extension depending on the school. But let's go ahead and browse to that device. And I can find that IP address in the asterisk info just like I can for all the other speakers. This is an algo paging adapter. If you want to learn more about an algo paging adapter and setting bell schedules, we have another video for that. But the main thing I wanted to cover in this video is to explain that what an algo is doing when it is performing an all call, it's broadcasting across a multicast address. And so that is what it is a multicast broadcaster. And for all the speakers, they all have to be listening to that multicast address to receive that all call or zone call. And we put those multicast addresses under accounts. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is that a speaker could be registered to an extension number and not listening to the right multicast address, meaning you might be able to call it individually, but it's not receiving the all call or right zone calls. So there are two different things happening there. Why that's important is for troubleshooting purposes. If you're working with Ambit on troubleshooting some speakers, we need to know, is it working for an individual room call or is it working for the zone call or all call? Because two different things could be happening. It could not be registered to its extension or the right extension, or it could be listening to the wrong multicast address. So hopefully that helps. The asterisk info page should help a lot in telling you whether or not IP speakers are registered or not. Now, the reason an IP speaker is not registered could be due to many things. It might not be getting any PoE, so it might not be powered on at all, or that individual port on the switch might not be giving it a DHCP IP address, or maybe the cable is just too long. So it could be a number of things. It's something that you have to troubleshoot one by one, but this is a great place to start with troubleshooting, because if I can see speaker is available, then I know pretty confidently that that speaker should be working at least on the room call. So meaning when you call that exact extension number, it should be receiving the call. Now, if it isn't, if you aren't hearing anything, then maybe it's a volume issue, or maybe actual speaker has gone bad. But this is where we always start with troubleshooting. And so I really hope this helps.